next speaker is Judy Okten. She's the founder and CEO of Virgin Labs, which is a digital health company that works with leading longevity clinics to expand and improve the relationship between clinic and client, ultimately driving better outcomes.
Hello. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah. Mic'd up. Okay, great. Oh, clicker. Right here. Okay, that's going to be good. Oh, here we go. So that was a perfect segue. Actually, Joanna's clinic, and Joanna's really her mission, as well as the mission of any wellness practitioner, MD practice, who is trying to enable preventative medicine. This is really why we wake up every day and what we do. So I want to tell you a little bit about the burgeoning of this idea and probably bring it down a little bit, because we've done a lot of talking about biotech and about science and about all the fountain of youth that we're all looking for. Virgin Labs is really a story about change, about behavior change, and about humans and why it's actually so difficult to make the changes that we know we need to make. So for me, this is how it started. It was 2015, and I was working at Procter & Gamble. Worked there for many, many, many years. I had one child, and I was really tired. I would come home every night, and I had no energy left to give my child, my husband, myself. So I started to realize, hey, this is not the way that I want to live. The healthy human you see in front of you right here was not me back in 2015. So this kind of ignited a real interest in me to change my health. It was really about purpose. So what did I do? So I had this sense of purpose. I started Googling, how can I have more energy? I learned about sleep. I learned about food. I learned about movement, about exercise, about stress and mindset. I started to really teach myself a lot. I started to measure myself. I was one of the first to be experimenting with wearables and just tracking how I was feeling on a daily basis. I got a whole bunch of blood work done, so I had a little bit of a roadmap on how to improve. I took a coach, because I realized I can't really do this on my own. So the coach kept me accountable. She gave me a plan. And it was just nice to have someone that was, supporting me, so I didn't feel alone. And I started to notice I had a lot of small changes that were adding up over time and kind of creating this domino effect in my health. All of a sudden, I had more energy. I felt better. I was losing weight. And all I could do was just tell everybody about my own, transformation. I didn't want to talk about shampoo anymore, a P&G. I just wanted to really enable other people to change. So what did I do? I became a coach myself, and I started a juice business, which I sold a few years later. And in my coaching journey, I connected with my co-founders, Bracken Darrell and Jeff Wilkie, and we started to really put our brains together in terms of, how can we take this body of knowledge that exists right now that all of you are working to create around health span, around health optimization and longevity, and how can we make that really accessible to people? And not only make it accessible, but really help them to take the actions necessary to make behavior change stick. That's really the key. So what we put together was really, where we thought there was a gap in the market was really around the healthcare segment, the healthcare industry as a whole. It's like there are doctors out there, like the ones that work in Joanna's clinic and others, functional medicine doctors, pioneers who want to implement preventative care, who really have that mission of enabling people on their health optimization journey. And there are patients who want to empower themselves with knowledge, who want to get better, or who want to prevent disease and really optimize their health. And is there a tool that can intersect those two and enable patients or clients on their journey and scale doctors, really enable doctors? So this became our mission. So what I learned as a coach and also as a human going through changes myself is that behavior change is really hard. So hands up, who has tried to make a behavior change, like let's talk about exercise. Who has tried to like increase how much exercise they do and had trouble with it? Okay, every single hand. Who's tried to make changes around food? Like maybe eat less sugar? Anyone? Sugar? Me too. How about less alcohol? Yeah, exactly. And you know, we are in this world. We know better than anyone else the changes we need to make, and it's really hard for us. So just imagine how it is for everybody outside of this room. And one of the reasons why it's really hard is because people think that they have to do things perfectly, so they just give up and don't do it at all. You know, they don't realize that, okay, maybe they can't take 10,000 steps and maybe they can't lift weights at the gym, but even if they start with like 10 minutes of walking a day, you know, that's something. It's all about taking small incremental steps that create like a virtuous cycle of change. That's how coaching works. But this approach, this behavior change, this coaching approach doesn't really exist in the healthcare industry. And that's what we want to create. So this is not going to be new information to most of you. This is a slide I shamelessly stole from Eric Verdon's speech. Eric is one of our advisors, and we're really lucky to have him. He talks a lot about, you know, 15% of our lives is essentially spent sick. But, you know, and there's a lot of money that we put behind that. But what's really interesting and hopeful for me as an eternal optimist is that, you know, we can impact change. Only 7% of our life expectancy is determined by our genetics, which means that we have 93%, you know, chances to make changes. You know, it's all in our lifestyle. So when we took a look at the problem, we did a lot of research with clients and with doctors. And really, like, it's a twofold problem. For patients, you know, patients, clients, whatever we want to call them, they have a hard time staying motivated. It's very overwhelming. And they don't really have a tangible action plan. And on the other side, for doctors, they're super overwhelmed. They don't have time. They have few resources. They're not particularly trained in behavior change. And there's not really an easy way to monitor patients outside of their visits. You know, I've heard so many times, in the space where the patients and the doctors are together, it's an incredible, you know, alchemy. There's a great exchange. But what happens as soon as they leave the clinic? You know, they have a whole bunch of things to do, and they're kind of on their own to get them done. So this is the gap. When we did our research, it was overwhelming how many health apps are out there. Okay, how many of you downloaded a health app and then not used it? Okay, 400,000 health apps out there. Only 2% of them have more than 10,000 downloads. So it's not really working. And we did a lot of research, you know, our own research with heads of insurance companies. And they had done their own research on apps and the digital apps that worked and drove behavior change over time. And the only ones, like looking at diabetes in particular, because that's an industry that's been around for a while and treated with digital tools, the only apps that actually worked to sustain behavior change in the long run were those that had a human coach attached to them. So this is a quote from Eric, and I think relevant for us all to hear right now. What we are doing is transforming the scientific knowledge that sits in this room and turning it into action to help people sustain healthy behavior. So where are we starting? So I'm a marketer, I mentioned that through and through. So I'm always thinking about the commercial plan. You know, how are we going to actually execute what we're talking about? We need to talk to innovators first. So the innovators are, for example, Joanna and other doctors in this room. They're the longevity clinics who are pioneering and thinking differently about healthcare. So this is where we start. However, where we want to go is, you know, taking this system, which is this pretty much, this system of behavior change, longevity-led behavior change, and we think there's a lot of different applications for it, for sure with hospitals, with insurance companies, and also with employers. So how the system works, essentially, is we start with a questionnaire, which kind of filters and personalizes the entire experience. Then there's a whole bunch of diagnostics and interventions, which are not us, right? This is happening with clinics. But those results will eventually get ingested into the tech. The tech enables remote monitoring, via wearable technology and via chat. There's human coaching, which can happen through the clinic or through us. Then there's e-learning journeys. So for example, if someone finds out at the clinic that they have a metabolic health issue or they have an inflammation issue or they have super high cortisol and they need to manage their stress, they can be put on a journey to help improve that and drip-fed content over time that's specific to their needs. And then of course there's an e-shop because as we know, a wellness journey isn't complete without our supplements and without all the wellness toys that we all know and love. So that's another way that we want to enable the healthcare practitioner to have the ecosystem to commercialize this model and give patients what they need. So this is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a network effect. As we get more clinics on board, we generate more data. The data helps us understand and create more personalization, more precision, and eventually more prevention. And all of that helps us to scale the practitioner and empower the patient. So how do we think about the different pillars, or the different buckets, as we like to call them, of healthspan? So these are all kind of the evidence-based categories where we know if we can help people optimize in these areas, we're pretty convinced that we can help prevent disease as long as possible. And those 5 areas are here, so I won't spend a lot of time on them. Nutrition, movement, social connection, sleep, and resilience. And resilience is about stress and mindset together. This is based on working together with Eric and all of the available research that's out there. This is where our content will focus. So we see a lot of growth in this market. We see it, in various different categories, but really it's a feeling. Like 1 year ago, there were definitely not as many doctors and clinics talking about longevity like they are today. And I see a vision that in 10 years, the entire healthcare system will be completely changed. And I hope that Burgeon Labs is in a place to, be at the right place at the right time and be the choice for doctors who want to practice preventative care to have the ecosystem they need to do it overnight. Just a quick walkthrough of what the first version of the technology looks like. We're really a startup. I should have mentioned that. We started in last year. We're based in Switzerland, super small team, and we have our first customer we're going to launch in February this year in Switzerland. So this is their first version of the app. It'll be completely white labeled. And so it starts with a self-assessment, which is this questionnaire. You connect your wearables. You have your dashboard, your data dashboard, a lot of information about why we measure certain things, why they're important. And that can all be customized. So some doctors will want to measure the sleep of a patient and monitor that. Some will want to monitor their glucose. That can all be customized. So you feel like there's a purpose behind the measurement. That's the point. And your doctor is behind it looking. And then we have journeys. We have different content which is filtered and personalized based on your survey. We have nudges and notifications to remind people, take their supplements, time to meditate, whatever it is. And they can buy their supplements and they can connect with their coach via the chat. This is just the starting point. We're literally just getting started. This personalized longevity health hub is only going to grow and only going to get better as we have more data integrations with labs, as we learn more about workflows and patient requirements. But we're pretty excited about where we're at so far. It's me here today from Switzerland to deliver this message, but I have an amazing team behind me. And we're backed by 2 pretty great leaders in tech. Jeff Wilkie, who was the CEO of Amazon for 30 years, and Bracken, who is the CEO of Logitech. And we're in this for the long game. This is a really long-term play for all of us. And we literally created the company because we had this shared passion and ambition. So that's really what drives us. This is our advisory with Eric, who leads for us here at the Buck. We've also got Andy Walsh, who's the head of the Liminal Collective. So we really try to infuse this thinking about high performance into everything we do, and that's what Andy's organization brings. Lori Hoffman from the Institute of Functional Medicine, and some neuroscientists from Wharton who help us design the app in such a way that it's really intuitive and decision making can happen in the easiest way and can stick. So this is us. And if you'd like to version with us, we are looking for help. We need a data scientist and science writers. And if you want to sign up as a pilot clinic, please come and talk to me. And we're also looking for investors next year. So thank you. Happy to take questions if there are questions. Yes.
You're in Switzerland.
Yes.
I'm in Seattle. How do we communicate data and get coaching from the other side of the planet with a 10-hour time shift?
Great question. Great question. Well, first of all, the clinics that we are signing up right now are in Europe. But I am actually meeting with the clinic tomorrow here in San Francisco. So I expect to develop that capacity too. And I'll say that our coaches are from around the world. So the coaching can be, that can be flexible based on where people are. But it's a B2B business. So we're going to be working with clinics and with medical practices. We won't be direct to consumer. So if you wanted to work with us, you'd have to find a participating clinic.
I own 3 of them.
We should talk. Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, so I have a question. So I love all of this coaching around interventions and getting people to do behavioral modification. As a physician, I do wonder how you are framing the supplements that you're prescribing through the app, because I think it's, obviously haven't been FDA trials for many of them, and people come into the hospital, often more than 30,000 people a year with kidney and liver failure from taking supplements. So I'm just wondering, how you can ensure, safety and high quality medicine in this way, the supplement.
That's a great question. I mean, right now, I would say that we're sort of, it's almost like we're offering the window, the shop for the clinic. So it's their risk and their liability in that sense. But it's an interesting question, and I'd like to discuss that with Eric actually about our role in making sure that the supplements that we do sell are evidence-based, and we have some protocols around that. It's a really good question. Anyone else? Here and here. I got you.
I think that the thing about coaching, I think it's a really good point. I think everyone probably needs a coach, but isn't that kind of compared to an app, there's a kind of a barrier to scaling, or kind of a cost question? How are we going to get to a point where we can get everyone a coach, or lots of people?
That's a great question. I mean, I'll be honest, in the very beginning, in the first minimum viable product version of the product, it's not very scalable. And we're going to be investing a lot in making that happen. But the idea is that we're creating the architecture and the infrastructure on the back end to learn, so that more and more of what a coach would normally do would be automated. But there would eventually be a coach. So we want to augment the role of the coach. So it's like less and less human time, where we can answer questions that are happening frequently, for example, via AI. So we plan to scale that. What's that? Yeah. But great question. At the end of the day, I think there will always be a role for the human. It's just a question of how can we augment that human and give them the signals so that they intervene at the right time. Because today coaching is a bit of a black box. Coaches don't know when they should intervene, what's happening with the person. If we give them the data and we give them the signals to intervene, this person's had 5 hours of sleep, 3 days in a row, now's the time, give them a tip about sleep, then we're helping them be more efficient. That's the point. Thank you for the question. Yes? Sorry. Oh.
The coaching. My observation, I've run longevity clinics for 20-some years. Started my first one in 97. We've tried coaching 3 times. And the problem is the quality of coaches and the knowledge base of the coaches is all over the map. And most of them have a little tiny fantasy life that they think is going to solve everybody's problems. So I'd be really interested in spending some time with you about how you train your coaches, what their qualifications are, what their protocols are.
Yeah.
Because I can see a whole lot of issues with coaching.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. So let's keep talking about that. Absolutely. I totally understand. But there was one more here I promised that he could.
Quick question. I wasn't clear on where exactly you started servicing. Are you in beta test?
So we are we're almost finished our first product, and that will be with customers in Switzerland in February, beginning of February.
Just curious.
We have one last one in the back there.
Yeah.
Yes, I was wondering how you delineate the role between the coach and the physician, and where the physician comes into play, because continuous monitoring can be both a blessing and a curse for a physician, because yes, you have access to great data, but also are you expected to constantly review that data daily? Do you have alarms and things like that?
That's a really good question, and it's something we have a lot of passion for. That was one of the very first things we learned as a huge red flag from doctors. It's like, I do not want to know the amount of sleep my patients are getting on a daily basis. That's it, for sure. So we're still designing those alerts, those systems, but essentially the first point of contact will always be the coach. And then when they need to pull the doctor in, they will. So the doctor actually, at least with the clinics that we're signed up right now, the doctor will not have this view. It will be only the coach. And they'll pull in people as it makes sense, because we can't risk having the doctors be completely inundated. That can be different for different clinics. Like there's some concierge doctors who want that, and that's fine. We can enable that.
Fatigue or alarm fatigue is very real.
Very real. Great point. Thank you. Thank you so much.